So I just recently watched Digital Foundry's Xbox Series X tech review, and I have to tell you, I'm pretty impressed by what Xbox Series X is doing. Uh, I think this game right here, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, it's a testament to the power of Xbox Series X and even Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Uh, and even to that point, Stalker 2. The reason I say this, because when you look at um, all three of these games, Indiana Jones, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, Stalker 2, when you look at all three of these games, they're very demanding on a PC. Highly demanding games. And Xbox Series X seems to be handling it pretty darn well. Um, and I think this is one of the reasons why Xbox Series X didn't bother doing an upgrade on the console compared to PlayStation 5 Pro. And one of the reasons is because they felt that they have enough power, enough juice to handle what they need to handle. But let's talk about this video that I've seen from Digital Foundry, and we'll watch the video shortly. But the surprising fact is that this game. Well, first of all, have you looked at the specs on the PC and just how demanding this thing is? Even at the minimum requirements, man, you got to have like a 3070, 3080, right? And then recommended it's like 4080, 4090 with some ridiculous CPU specs as well, from Ryzen 5, Ryzen 7, i5, i7, 9th generation, i9, 9th generation, which I luckily have. By the way, I will play both versions, the PC and the Xbox Series X version, of course. I will have those 4K videos for you this coming week. So before we watch this video briefly, here is the interesting part. The game, it's running on 1800p, man, at 60 FPS with Ray Traced Global Illumination. Why is this a big deal? Because at that high resolution, 1800p, man, it's close to native 4K. If I was to put 1800p, if I was to put a video of 1800p Indiana Jones next to a PC version running in a native 4K, you would have a hard time seeing the difference. Because 1800p is it's pretty close to native 4K. So this thing, it will look super sharp on your 4K HDR, 4K Dolby Vision televisions, depending on which one you enable, either Dolby Vision or HDR, right? I would recommend Dolby Vision, but if you want to do HDR, do HDR. So pretty impressive. And it, like I said, this is a testament to Xbox Series X and what the Xbox Series X can do. Even on a PC, it's like I said, but on a PC, even on a PC, it's optimized really well, and that's because of this ID Tech engine that I think it's calling out Unreal Engine 5. Because Unreal Engine 5, let's be honest, has been very demanding, and it hasn't been running that well. It's been struggling lately. While this engine, ID Tech, which also runs on Doom, Dark Ages, right? Upcoming Doom, Dark Ages, and some other games, it's really showcasing machine games. It's really flexing its muscles to showcase what the ID Tech engine can do. So anyway, let's watch this video briefly, and then I'll add some more thoughts and opinions on it.
era. You see, this new game, The Great Circle, is an original story, but it opens in a familiar way. The introduction from Raiders has been meticulously recreated for this new game, and it feels like a statement of intent, as if the designers at Machine Games studied this sequence shot by shot to fully come to grips with the way Steven Spielberg told this story back in the day. By duplicating it anew, the team would have a better idea of how to tell a brand new story in this world. It also allows us to directly compare the film to the game, which in turn reveals some of the game's visual wins. Firstly, unlike prior titles from Machine Games, all cutscenes used in Indiana Jones are rendered entirely in real time, which is a positive step in the right direction. Video-based cutscenes are limited to a maximum possible image quality and often show a mismatch in terms of frame rate. There are large frame time anomalies, but that's only half the answer. You see, certain animations also momentarily drop to 30 FPS, even though the surrounding scene is still updating at 60, so it's not actually measured here by our tools. The issue is that these two problems sort of detract from otherwise amazing cutscenes, and it's something I really hope they can fix, since it can be a little jarring. It's a shame too, because otherwise, these scenes compare very favorably to the film. Now, in addition to cutscenes, many segments from this introduction are recreated as interactive sequences as well. This allows you to explore the jungle and go to areas that were not in the movie. For instance, after this scene, you can hop right into the water and start swimming around. Crossing, and if I pause the action here, I want to highlight the next major visual feature, arguably one of the largest ones, Ray Traced Global Illumination. Essentially, this means that ray tracing is used to calculate indirect lighting from light sources such as the sun. This area, for instance, nicely demonstrates what I'm talking about. Light from outside pours beautifully into this room, filling it with rays, and this information is used to determine the lighting conditions in this space without real...
So, I mean, look at this. And this is running on a console, dude. Xbox Series X, where they're using 1800p, pretty high resolution, which is near 4K, at 60 FPS with Ray Traced Global Illumination. And when you add all of those elements with 1800p 60 FPS with Ray Traced Global Illumination, or as they like to call it, RTGI, that's what it stands for, is RTGI, Ray Traced Global Illumination. I have to say, what I'm seeing here, and I'm watching this in 4K, it's pretty impressive, man. This is pretty impressive stuff. And even John from Digital Foundry, when he was reviewing this, even he was like impressed. Even the other guy, I think his name is Alex, who did the PC version, even he said, although there are differences, sure, in terms of graphics, but even he said, comparing the PC version to the Xbox version, it's still pretty impressive what this Xbox Series X can do, man. So don't get rid of your Xbox Series X. It's still a powerful console, man. It's running all of these games, like I said, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 demanding, and it's running it pretty darn well at the medium settings. Indiana Jones running it pretty darn well at the medium settings at 1800p and RTGI, which is a Ray Traced Global Illumination at 60 FPS. That's pretty impressive, man. That's super impressive for a console. It also makes me wonder what they're going to do with the PS5 Pro version. So now I'm even more excited. I think the PS5 Pro version will be, I'm guessing, close to like a high settings at 1800p. That's what I'm looking at. I'm thinking the PS5 Pro. Well, I think PS5 Pro version will be the best console version, but not by much. But what else have we learned? What I have learned from looking at the Indiana Jones and the ID Tech engine and the Machine Games Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, I have learned that yes, having an extra horsepower on your console, on your GPU, CPU that's built inside a console, sure, it will help. Having a high-end PC, sure, it will help. But I also have learned that it's really how developers optimize and use that power from the console, right? How well they optimize their game. And I think, to the credit, even though I've criticized machine games for not giving us a third person option, I still stand by that. I like to have a third person option instead of a first person option. I gotta give machine games a credit for being able to optimize the console version in a ways that I did not expect it to run. I was expecting this to be 1440p at best. I was expecting 1440p 60 FPS at best. Or medium settings, but no, instead we're getting a near 4K, native 4K, 1800p resolution with medium settings and Ray Traced Global Illumination turned on. They also give you the ability to use the sharpening in this game on a console version, so you can sharpen the image as well. And when you add the final layer of high dynamic range and Dolby Vision, this thing on your OLED TV, it will just look beautiful. You will notice that right away, I'm pretty sure. So, Xbox Series X, I think this game, it's really flexing its muscles to show us what the Xbox Series X can do. But it's also giving us a valuable lesson, and the lesson is it's not so much about how powerful your console is, it's how developers use and harness that power to optimize it. And I think that's something that we need to see with the PS5 Pro. I think we need to see developers learn and figure out how to harness the power that the PS5 Pro has and how to optimize it the best that they can. It's all about the developers and how they optimize their engine and utilize the power that the PS5 Pro has and the Series X has. And kudos to Machine Games for being able to do that.
Relying on faked rasterized lighting. As a result, there's no holes or gaps in the scene, there's no light bleed or anything like that. It just feels very naturally lit with these soft contact shadows and crevices exhibiting the proper shading. Interior scenes with a view to the outdoors benefit tremendously because of this technique. What really surprised me the most, though, is how clean this is. Without something like ray reconstruction, RTGI is usually pretty noisy. When you look at the kind of stuff that Epic's doing with Lumen, for instance, it's a lot less clean looking than what we see here in Indy. Even in high contrast scenes, it's remarkably stable. Yes, in select instances, or if you move around the camera too quickly, you can trigger some slight artifacting, but by and large, it's among the best I've seen. So this is really interesting, that in a marked leap from previous id Tech-based games.
It is, and I agree. I agree with Digital Foundry. I agree. I think this is John reviewing this. I agree. It is impressive what this engine is doing. And let's be honest. No offense to Unreal Engine 5. But when I look at Unreal Engine 5, it just seems to have optimization issues. We have seen this with the RoboCop Rogue City. We have seen this with Hellblade 2, Senua's Sacrifice. We have seen this with a bunch of other Unreal Engine 5 games. The optimization, it's just not where it needs to be. It seems like to me Unreal Engine 5 is having an issue with the optimization aspect. However, ID Tech here with Machina, with Machine, not Machina, machine games. Machina stands in Russian for car, a vehicle. All right. A lot of people ask, well, what does the machina means in Russian? Machina in Russian means a vehicle, a car. But anyway, machine games uh, did a phenomenal job by giving us a valuable lesson on, hey, this is how you optimize your engine to work with a console. Even on a Series S, this thing runs pretty good, considering just how weak the hardware is on that console. Uh, Not that I recommend that you play it on a Series S, but you know you can always jump on the cloud and play the Series X version, which I would recommend. But it's still impressive to see that they were able to optimize even the Series S version to run the best. And this goes to the credit of the machine games and this ID Tech engine. And I want to see, I think it's ID Tech 8, ID Tech 8, 8 generation, I think, or something like that. So, this is impressive, man. 1800p, medium settings, um, Ray Traced Global Illumination, RTGI, implemented in here. And then on top of that, you add high dynamic range and Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos on a big, 77 OLED inch TV or 80-inch OLED TV. I mean, on Xbox Series X, you will have a great time playing this, and it's very close to a PC version, man. Sure, there's when it comes to global illumination, um, there were some sacrifices made on the Series X, obviously, but on a PC version, obviously, global illumination looks more detailed. So PC has more advantage on some other, aspects as well. Uh, with a full ray tracing, the full ray tracing, it's coming on Monday, and you will be able to use the full ray tracing on PC. And of course, the full ray tracing on PC will demand more GPU memory. RAM will demand more VRAM, of course. But then again, it's pretty impressive to see Xbox Series X version run in par with the PC version, man. So that is a testament to the power of the Xbox Series X. Very impressive. And even John is impressed. Sure, of course, PC version, it's the best choice if your PC can handle it. But for a console, man, this is pretty impressive. For Xbox Series X, pretty impressive. Of course, I can't wait to see in April what the PS5 Pro version will do, because they have plenty of time to work on the PS5 Pro version and to harness all this power from PS5 Pro and utilize it on the PS5 Pro console. So I'm excited now even more for the PS5 Pro version, to be honest.
Ray tracing was introduced in Doom Eternal, for instance, but was used only for reflections in that game. Shifting towards proper global illumination has a profound impact on the scenes, and I think it's critical for a game like Indie, which takes place in the past, where you will be exploring many natural locations, often without electric lighting. You want that natural lighting to help bring a scene to life. Of course, ray tracing doesn't come cheap, and as a result, they got rid of the ray traced reflections we saw in Eternal. It's just the GI now. That means all reflections on things such as water are handled entirely using screen space reflections.
And that's fine. I'm okay with the with a screen space reflection. You know, That's okay. I know if you go on the PC and if your PC can handle it, you'll benefit from full ray tracing, right? You have that full ray trace reflection, which is fine. Uh, but to me, this is not a deal breaker. It's not like a big deal. You know, it is something they had to do to preserve this quality. But to me, it's not like a deal breaker. You know, you're still getting great lighting through global illumination. So with a ray trace global illumination, so I wouldn't like really worry too much about the space reflection. Still good. But of course, if you're on the PC with a full ray tracing, you will benefit obviously with everything. But remember, this is a console version for Series X. It's pretty darn impressive.
Still, the fact that the game runs with Ray Traced Global Illumination at 60 frames per second is an impressive feat, especially true when considering the high average resolution. You see, on Xbox Series X, Indie averages out to around 1800p or so. Dynamic scaling is of course used, as we often see in id Tech games, but every shot I counted came in around 1800p, and I would describe overall image quality as very clean. It's a far cry from titles where we've been seeing resolutions below 1080p when used with ray tracing. Now let's jump back to this scene where they swing over the pit. This is where I'd like to introduce you to the Xbox Series S version. You see, I noticed right away that something was different about the lighting, which sent me down the rabbit hole to get to grips with what Machine Games has achieved here on Series S. After all, optimizing for this console is not a...
Look, what he just said is so true. This is pretty impressive for Xbox Series X that it's able to keep this game at 1800p with 60 FPS, with a global illumination, with ray trace global illumination. It's pretty impressive. They even allow you to adjust the image sharpening as well, man. Even though I know this is dynamic resolution, 1800p dynamic resolution, but the fact that they also allow you to use that sharpening to sharpen that image even more detailed, it's pretty impressive. Now, as far as the Series S version, it is what it is. I mean, what do you expect? You can only do so much with the Series S. I look at Series S version as something that I would use as a cloud gaming. It's a great cloud gaming machine. Honestly, I would only play Indiana Jones through cloud. I wouldn't bother using the Series S version, to play it directly from Series S. And this is why you have Series X. This is so now you understand. Well, why does the Series X exist? Well, it exists for this reason, to give you a better quality, a better detail. So that's the whole point of having Xbox Series X in the first place. And I think this year, this holiday season, I think we truly see the benefit of Series X with games like Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, Stalker 2, and of course, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
VRS had potential, but has been mostly poorly used, resulting in additional blur, noise, and other artifacts that sometimes manifest as if what you were looking at was a poorly encoded video. Doom Eternal had this on Xbox Series consoles as well, but the effect is even worse here.
Of course, you can tell a difference right away, obviously, here. So let me look at the performance test really quick.
It's a locked 60 frames per second, which is quite an achievement, I think. I was able to play this game using black frame insertion on my OLED screen without VRR. That's how stable it was. VRR is not required here. We're looking at a game here with large open maps, ray traced diffuse lighting on both consoles, and it's all still running at a locked 60. That's the magic of id Tech that we love so much, right? Now, the cutscene issue I mentioned earlier in the video is a completely different problem. It doesn't seem to be directly related to performance per se. It's not happening due to hardware failing to keep up, and it is an issue on PC as well. We're still trying to wrap our heads around what's going on there. But aside from that, performance is basically perfect. Now, loading times are also worth mentioning because they're amazingly quick to the point that there's basically zero visible loading at all. It makes the game feel completely seamless. The whole thing is just very well buttoned up from a performance standpoint. Which then brings me to my thoughts on the design of the game itself. You see, quite honestly, I think this is one of the best licensed games I may have ever played. It's so rare that a developer so completely understands the license on which it's building a game, but it feels like the folks here behind Indie love and respect the property in a big way. The storytelling is, perhaps unsurprisingly, significantly better than the last two films. It's much more grounded too. Don't get me wrong, there are supernatural elements here, but it's kept very much within the realm of something like Raiders of the Lost Ark. The basic structure of the game also allows this to work. Essentially, you'll spend a lot of time in various locations around the globe, such as the Vatican or Giza.
So, like I said earlier in this video, this is pretty impressive for the Xbox Series X, and I've been very impressed with the Xbox Series X in the past 2 months. You know, with the release of Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and how well that runs. The release of Max Flight Simulator 2024, considering how demanding that game is and how well it runs on a Series X. And, you know, looking at the Stalker 2 and how well the Stalker 2 runs on Xbox Series X. And now looking at Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, it's truly impressive to see that the Xbox Series X is handling these games pretty darn well. So keep your Xbox Series X. You know, keep it. It's still great. It runs great. But this also goes back to my point in earlier what I said. It's not so much how powerful your console is, even though that's important, but it's also how developers utilize and how developers harness that power from a console to optimize it to run the best on that console. And this goes to the credit to Machine Games and ID Tech Engine, and credit goes to them for learning how to utilize the power of Xbox Series X and then implement that with their engine and optimize it to the best possible quality without sacrificing a performance. And it's pretty impressive, man. I mean, think about it. 1800p with Ray Traced Global Illumination turned on at 60 FPS on top of HDR and Dolby Vision, right? Dolby Atmos. You will have a great time, man, with this on the Xbox Series X on your 4K television. You will enjoy this, man, for sure. There's no question about it. I can't wait to get my hands on it, to start playing it, to record 4K videos. I will first play the Xbox Series X version because I want to see how the Xbox Series X version runs. So my first walkthrough will be with the Xbox Series X version. When I finish the Xbox Series X version, then I'm going to jump in on the PC version with my gaming laptop, which is the i9 processor, 9th gen with a 4070 GPU, and we'll see how that compares to the Series X version. So that's essentially what I'm doing this next week. In case you guys are wondering what I'm doing next week. So anyway, great news, impressive, very impressive. What the machine games have done here in terms of graphics and optimizations on the console, very impressive for the Xbox Series X. As far as my criticism on first person versus third person option, you know how I feel about that. I still wish that they had given us the option to choose between a third person and a first person. That would have been nice. But hey, it is what it is. Like I said, if you're an Xbox Series X owner, you should be very happy to know that, hey, you getting treated with some great quality here with the Indiana Jones. You will have a great time, especially if you have an excellent television, 4K HDR Dolby Vision television with a Dolby Atmos. You will benefit greatly for this Indiana Jones experience on the Xbox Series X. So, impressive. Congratulations to Machine Games, and job well done. Job well done. Thank you for watching.